Good evening to all our viewers. Good evening, good morning, Sakabana, whatever it is that is in way of a greeting. Hello all, I'm Michelle. I am the principal of the Thorburn School of Astrology, and I'm here today with my co-creator, Thea de Beer, and we're looking at a very important astrological configuration at this point in time, which is the solar eclipse in Libra, where the sun and the moon are going to be together at 10 degrees of Libra. Now, anything about an eclipse is always really important to us. It's really important to all of us, whether we do astrology or not. And one of the reasons why that is because it is a new beginning. It's a new phase. So before we really go into it and we describe the solar eclipse in a little bit more detail, I would just like to say to everybody that if you've looked at our last couple of recordings, we have basically been almost like preparing for this moment in time. Would you agree, Thea? We've almost like been preparing, whereby we need to be letting go of the past. We need to be moving on. We need to be repairing things like our relationships, or getting a different perspective on our relationships, getting a different perspective in terms of our own self-sovereignty, how we actually fit into and communicate with the world. So a lot of what we've done up until now in the last couple of months, and I think it's actually been going on for the whole of this year, where we've really been looking at, we've been building up our spiritual and our emotional muscle, for want of a better word, in terms of finding balance. And this solar eclipse is really almost bringing us to a pinnacle, I would say, in terms of what's really important about the work that we've done up until now. Remember, because it's a new beginning, because it's a new moon, remember that even if you haven't done the work up until now, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to get onto the train, because whatever you are doing right now, and you're doing it consciously, it means that you are winning in some or other way. So that was a bit of a long introduction, but it was just to really put you onto the path that the work that we've done up until now is not in isolation to this video that we're doing now. So Thea, for the sake of our viewers, please won't you explain the solar eclipse? First of all, what is a solar eclipse and where is it actually happening? And then we'll take it from there.
Okay, the solar eclipse is where the sun and where the moon is in between the sun and the earth, and it's exactly aligned. Well, this is a partial, so it's not completely aligned. I think it's the south node is at 6 degrees of Libra, and this moon is happening at 10 degrees, so it's just a partial where the moon would be in between the sun and the earth. Normally eclipses has got a lot to do with our relationships. You know, it brings up a lot in our relationships, whether it is with ourselves, with our partners, but this one in particular, because it's Libra, and Libra is a sign all about relationships. It's a relationship with ourselves, how we relate to the outside world, our personal relationships, our romantic husband, wife. It's all of those kind of relationships that will be definitely highlighted through this time. And also because it's a Libra moon, it's definitely seeking balance and harmony. So like you said, we've been building up to this. We've been doing the inside work. We had to like first sort out ourselves, our relationship with ourselves, but now we to sort out and find balance between everything, what needs to go, you know. And I think we'll have a pretty good idea about how this eclipse will bring forward about how we feel about certain relationships, even your platonic relationships, your love relationships. it's going to seek truth
Yes, yes.
in where we stand with that.
Thank you for that, Thea. So just to remind the viewers that the solar eclipse, yes, it's happening close to the south node in Libra, and but it's also a new moon. So the new moon is when the sun and the moon are at the same degrees. And on that basis, I'm actually going to share the screen so that we can show you what we actually mean by this. So Thea, can you see the screen? Yeah. So you can see over here that the sun and the moon are both at 10 degrees and 3 minutes of Libra. In other words, they're at the exact same degree. Now, because it's going to be a solar eclipse, now there's a couple of things that I'd like to add to what you said, Thea. And one of those things is that it's a super moon. It's a super new moon. And what that basically means is that it's in the moon's orbit around the Earth. It's ecliptical, so it gets nearer to the Earth and it gets further away. Right now, we've had a series of 4 months of super moons because the moon has been at its closest to the Earth. So when the moon is closest to the Earth, we're really and truly talking in abundance in terms of our emotions, because the moon rules our emotions. It rules our unconscious mind. So it's all about the unconscious, the hidden, our emotions. So that's the one thing I'd like our viewers to remember, is that right now your emotions might be a little bit on the sleeve, okay? And the advice is to take that step back, which is something that we've been saying repeatedly. So what is going to happen is that the moon is going to move and partially block out the sun, because that's why it is then a solar eclipse, because the sun is being eclipsed by the moon. Now, what's interesting about this is that the sun represents the conscious mind and the moon represents the unconscious mind. And because of another astrological aspect, which is the Mars, which I'll get Thea to go to in a little bit further, is that right now, whether we are thinking about our lives consciously or whether we are thinking about our lives unconsciously, Mars is the planet of manifestation. So if you are hiding unconsciously your resentment or your dislike or your negative feelings about somebody, because there's going to be the square to Mars at the same time, there could be repercussions, because your unconscious could be coming out in abundance right now. So just to say that the sun's energy is going to be eclipsed by the moon. It's the south node. The south node is all about our past, that which no longer serves us. It's about our comfort zone. So we are being kicked out of our comfort zone in a very beautiful way, and we've been preparing for this, as I say, it feels like for the whole of this year, but it's probably been for the last 3 or 4 months. So there, I've mentioned that we've got the sun and the moon together and they conjunct, and that they both square Mars. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that? And this is where the square is. Here's the sun and moon, and here is the square, this red line over here to the planet of Mars in Cancer.
Yeah, obviously that square is bringing along a lot of tension. There is going to be a lot of tension, and that Mars is very protective. You know, it's a very protective Mars, and it wants to be safe, and it wants to have a safe place to call home. You know, and I feel that if you may experience uncertainty where your safety, and I'm not necessarily speaking about your physical safety, you know, where you don't feel safe and comfortable, you know, if that is going to be challenged, I feel that there might be some flaring emotions coming up there, or the need to fight, maybe, you know, for, and not necessarily maybe in a bad way. I mean, like protective, in a protective way, to protect and secure. That's rather the word, maybe, to secure. But yeah, that can bring a lot of tension there emotionally. But
would you say that in terms of on an emotional level that people are going to be really uncomfortable? Because if you look at this, the moon is in Libra and the moon is ruled by Cancer. Okay, and Mars is not comfortable in Cancer. Cancer is all about protective and family and nurturing and loving and kindness, and Mars is all about rash and brash and going out there, and it's quite it's aggressive. I mean, Mars can be very aggressive. So Mars is definitely not comfortable in Cancer. And it's in the sign that rules the moon. So that Mars is quite important in the sense that if things are uncomfortable in somebody's life, if you're going to be experiencing this next month and it's very, very uncomfortable, yes, it is very uncomfortable. It is very stressful. But that's when you need to actually start coming more into your conscious mind. What do I want here? What is happening here? How can I change this? Do I change it? Is this something that I want to be part of? Is this something I want to walk away from? So by asking yourself a lot of questions, you are enabling yourself to stay conscious within the conflict instead of reactive in the conflict. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that. And I would say we kind of supported as well, thank goodness, with that, with the grand water trine that we're also having. And I mean, that Mars is forming part of the trine, you know, with Venus, which is the moon ruler, the ruler of Libra, and then with Saturn in Pisces. So yes, it's water, it's our emotions. So obviously we are realizing here that our emotions is going to be heightened and highlighted and whatever. But this could also be a very healing trine, you know, and supportive in like going with the flow, being very intuitive. It is water, you know, like this is where maybe instead of flaring out and just go with that Mars, is step back and intuitively, what do I feel about this situation? A, B, C, and you know, before you make your decision on just reacting on your emotions, because obviously this the solar eclipse is going to highlight truths or untruths or things that you, so, but I feel that that trine will support us in all of this.
Thank goodness for this trine. Okay. So one of the things that I want to mention here is that we do have the solar eclipse happening in Libra, okay, which is the sign of balance. It's the sign of harmony. It's the sign of law and legalities. It's the sign of marriage and marriage partnerships. It's very much the sign of relationships. It's very much the sign of money and resources as well.
And
so
compromise.
So in addition to which, this over here, the conjunction is forming a square to Mars. Now Mars is representative of the masculine energy. So when we are looking at a chart and we're looking for masculine energy and things like that, we're always going to look at the sun and Mars, and funnily enough, Saturn, because Saturn's the grandfather of the zodiac. and but Mars is a very, very masculine, dynamic, masculine energy, and Venus, the ruler of this eclipse, is the feminine energy. So within us, we've got to understand that we've got to balance the masculine and feminine energy within ourselves. So one of the things I know we've spoken about over the last couple of months is self-care. Okay. And that's the feminine side. The feminine side, we can't always be in action. We can't always be doing. We've got to step back, and we've actually got to replenish ourselves, nurture ourselves, love ourselves. All these feminine qualities that actually help us to get into balance with everything. And we're being beautifully supported with this. So here we've got the feminine and the masculine talking to each other in the water signs. I would just say to people, be careful of this Venus in Scorpio, because Venus is not happy in Scorpio. So your don't become revengeful. Your wish to get back at somebody, or just watch your need to be right. Watch your ego over here, because
and that can even enhance that whole protectiveness energy as well. That Venus in Scorpio can be passionately protective.
Yes. And the thing is, we are actually being supported by, or this trine is being supported by this Saturn in Pisces. And guess what all of this is saying to us again? And again, we've been speaking about this, is that we need to go into our higher spiritual self. We need to be practical. We need to go into our intuition. We need to be practical. We need to be, and the only way you can be more practical at these times is to be conscious. To be conscious of yourself, to be conscious of your higher self, to be conscious of your connection to the cosmos, to the God, to the infinite, to be conscious of all of that, because that is the way that it's going to help us to actually balance not only the masculine and feminine within ourselves, but the masculine and feminine within our relationships, and so on and so forth. Would you like to add something to that, Thea?
No, I would say that you're right. It's very balanced, but can I add the dark moon?
Oh, yes. In fact, that was going to be my next statement. Yes. Please do.
Yes, because I mean, with all this balancing, and we now need to like really follow our balances. We've got this, I mean, it is so exact. It's like 30 minutes away from, and that's transformation energy next level, you know, and within our relationships, this is transforming our relationships and everything. And just to explain to our viewers, dark moon, and I'm just going to read my notes because I break everything. And then it's the dark feminine and all facets of the feminine that have been demonized and condemned for millennia. She has to do with the true liberated expression of feminine sexuality, and with our connection to our animal instincts, physicality, and something we were taught to hide, suppress, mistrust, or shame, be ashamed of. So these are the things that's going to be highlighted as well with this new moon. And again, asking us to come back into our sovereign, you know, like, this is who I am. This is me living my life. And you just do it without judgment and just, you know, with love.
Yes.
So we are being beautifully supported. It's I mean, it is the dark feminine energy. So it's not a light, it's not Venus.
No, 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 no. But if I can add, so this I've
But Venus in Scorpio, sorry, Venus in Scorpio
Scorpio
can very
is Black
well.
Moon Lilith.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
well, it's not really, but I mean, if we were going to be looking at it, it would be Black Moon Lilith. But I think the
yeah,
other thing that I want to add there, Thea, is that Black Moon Lilith is also representative of our shadow side.
yes,
Okay. Now, our
yes.
shadow side is that side of us which we don't want to look at. It's the dark side of us that we keep hidden and all the rest of it. Now, with what's been happening with Pluto, with us on a conscious level, is that we've had to start working with our shadow, and we've had to start looking at our shadow, those parts of ourselves that we don't like, those parts of ourselves that we keep away from other people because it's our shadow. It's what we perceive as the negative side of us that we
Yeah.
keep in shadow, that we don't want to bring out. And I think everything that's been happening with Pluto, and in fact with the solar eclipse, is that we also needing to look at our shadow side, that which we don't like about ourselves. And when we look at that which we don't like about ourselves, our tendency is to explain it away. It comes from our childhood. It comes from our experiences. It comes from our circumstances. It comes from this bad relationship. It comes from that bad relationship. So when we're looking at our shadow side, we try to excuse it and explain it away so that we don't have to take responsibility for it. Okay, it's there because of what somebody else or life or circumstances did to me. And the whole thing about this shadow side is for you to recognize that it is you, it is a part of you, and it needs to be integrated into all aspects of self so that it comes into the light and out
Yes,
of the shadow. So,
exactly.
so again, as much as this is a new beginning, and I mean, eclipses are new beginnings, a new moon is a new beginning, as much as this is so much of about a new beginning, it's also a way of maybe looking at yourself in a slightly different way and starting to work more consciously with your shadow side, with that side of yourself which you don't really like. And if I can just add here, Thea, so we've got the sun and moon at 10 degrees.
Can I just add with the shadow side quickly, if you're going to move away from that,
Okay.
or are you still busy with that?
No, I was going to move to Mercury. So there you go.
Okay, so I just want to add with the shadow side is it is not always a bad thing to look, or a scary, it's sometimes scary to look at your shadow side and face that. But if you like really look at it and see, there's three things that really trips us over. That is shame, guilt, and humiliation. And if you're going to go look at your shadow and you're going to go sit with it, you'll see that there's certain aspects of yourself that you want to hide. And why? You will normally see that it is connected with something like shame or guilt or humiliation. And then to really go sit with that and see, where did the shame come from? It's not my shame. It's not my, whatever brought on the shame or whatever. And that's how you work with this Lilith energy, and you integrate that as something that happened for you and not to you. And you don't have to be shameful about it because whatever your reasons was. So yeah, this is very powerful, transformative energies to balance ourselves and get ourselves aligned.
Yes, yes, very much so. Very, very much so. So thank you for that, Thea, because that's a very helpful tip in terms of people working with their shadow side, in terms of shame, guilt, and humiliation. That's wonderful. And that means that you can really work with this stuff in a very, very positive way. And what's so wonderful about it is that we are further aided and assisted. So as hard as this work is, we further aided and assisted with Mercury, the planet of the mind, thoughts, thinking, communication, is also in Libra. So when communication or thinking and the mind, our mental side, is in a Libra, it's also wanting to come into balance. So when you've got these thoughts that are way out over there, you've really got to bring this back and say, if I was looking at the scales of this particular situation now, how do I balance it? How do I think about it in a more balanced way, in a more rational way that is being supported by Saturn over here in Pisces? Because whatever's happening over here is going to be manifested in the Mars over here, because Mars is going to be bringing in manifestation. So
yeah,
it almost is a given. Be very careful of your thoughts, of your words, and all the rest of it. Just keep looking at the situation that you're in and keep saying to yourself, how do I bring balance here? How do I bring balance here? And although I keep saying this, I think what's important about what I'm saying is that when you keep asking that question, how do I bring in balance? It means that it's keeping you in the conscious mind. It's keeping you in the conscious mind so that you're not reacting from an unconscious point of view. You are actually beginning to look at your situation from a conscious point of view and really assess it in a different type of way.
yeah. Yeah, like you said, there's, at least with this moon, there's rational with a Libra and whatever, and there's resolution and compromise, I feel, comes with this moon, you know, because it's Libra. It wants compromise, it wants harmony, it wants to resolve things. So it is not the anxious Virgo moon or the attention seeking, all out the egotistical Leo moon, you know. It's the rational Libra moon that at least knows compromise,
which is being supported by that Mercury, the things. But I think you've actually just said something really, really important there, Thea, and that is that Libra wants a resolution. It wants a resolution where all parties win. Okay. It doesn't want it to be, because remember, the energies that we're working with, or the energies that we're beginning to work with, we've been working on ourselves to get out of ego-driven energy.
Yeah.
So when we've been looking for self-sovereignty is it's about being your own master. It's about, so an example of self-sovereignty is when you no longer need to be affirmed by people outside of yourself. You can actually affirm yourself, your own talents. You don't have to be recognized or acknowledged or whatever from others. Then you know that you're getting into a level of self-sovereignty. So there's that. But when you're looking at the situation and the potential, Mars is action, so there's going to be manifestations here. So the potential manifestations could actually be quite aggressive, could be quite reactionary. Okay. And just remember that however you, the viewer, are reacting to all of this, you're looking for a resolution. You're looking to resolve the situation for the highest good of all parties involved. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yes. And that trine, thank you to that trine. And that's, I mean, water trines are healing, you know, so I feel there's lots of healing going to happen. And we just have to be aware of the fact that if you're not with this Lilith and the moon and the sun and the Mars, if things that the more we're out of line, those things are going to start to fall away more and more. And if you don't want to let go, it's going to be difficult.
Yes.
It's going to be a hard time. You're going to have a hard time. So be aware that if you are having a hard time, you're getting a little, hey,
Yes.
you're not in line. You're
Yes.
not in line, aligned. You're not aligned with your purpose and who you want to be and how you want to express you.
Right. And I just want to add something here. It comes from Steve Judd. I just want to add something here. For a long time, many astrologers are saying that October, November 2024 are pivotal change months. Okay. And one of the things that is happening in October is that with this solar eclipse, we've got a lot of movement. We've got a lot happening between the Sun and Mars. We've got a lot happening between the Moon and Mars during this month. Now, as I said before, the Moon and Mars do not actually gel nicely together. In addition to which, Mars is actually going to come to an opposition with Pluto. That is potentially very, very explosive on a global, because Pluto is an outer planet. It is the most outer planet or body that we look at. And it can be quite explosive because Mars is explosive. So what I'm trying to say here is that things could really start heating up on our international arenas. We've got Ukraine and Russia. We've got Israel and the Middle East. We've got the American elections coming up. So on a global level, there's actually, there seems to be a buildup, for want of a better word. We're getting to the crescendo of the orchestra. And so I just want to finish this. Sorry, Thea. So this means that our outside world could look as if it's losing the plot. Okay. Potentially that is what could be happening. So from a personal point of view, we just need to hold our center, keep our balance in a much more, in a way, rigorous type of way, because otherwise we could really derail ourselves quite significantly. Yes, Thea, what would you like to add to that?
I just wanted to add that it's going to hit that Pluto twice, actually, because Mars is going to go retrograde later this year, and then it's going to go, when it goes back, it's going to then be opposition Pluto again. So then I think we'll see, we're going to get an inkling. And then we'll see.
Well, look, as I say, Stephen Judd has just done an 8-minute video on this whole thing, but between the activity of Mars. And look, I've always said that Libra for me is more the sign of war than what Aries is, you know. So and this is not, we're not predicting war, we're not predicting anything like that, because you can't do that. But just know that as much as we've got the trine, there's also a lot of things where the energies are maybe not as harmonious and gelling in a way where the energies are speaking to each other. And that there is the potential for, on a worldly level, for there to be a lot of chaos in this next month, especially going towards the end of October. And on that basis, I think we need to just be aware and need to just be more mindful about being mindful, about being conscious, about being in balance within ourselves before we do anything going out there. So Thea, on that note, as we're coming to a close about all of this, what would you like to say to our viewers as a final comment? Unless there's anything else you wanted to say. Sorry.
No. Just be aware of what is hanging in the balance and don't hold on. The more you hold on, the worse it gets. I go with the flow. And I'm speaking as much to myself as to everybody else out there.
Right. I would like to leave the viewers with the following. I think these next 2 months are going to be very pivotal in our life. I think that this year has been very pivotal, and I don't think it's going to stop in 2025. I only think that round about 2026, are we going to find some level of balance again? And as we're going through this revolutionary change cycle, and change is always difficult, the way to best manage it is to actually just be at peace with yourself. Be at peace with yourself. Make sure that your relationships around you are healthy. Make sure that you're healthy. I mean, your body needs to be healthy. So this is not to say don't have the sweets, but also have the healthy food with it, because the more healthy you are, the better you think, the more you feel settled emotionally. And just remember that right now, any level of spiritual practice is of benefit to you. And on that basis, I wish you all a fantastic solar eclipse. And it's another new beginning. So let's make the most of it. Let's make the most of the new beginnings that we keep getting. And that way we grow. Thank you, Thea.
My pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Take care.